Here's the story written in plain paragraphs with a strong hook, emotional depth, steady pacing, and a clear, inspiring ending. 2 screams echoed across the playground, but they weren't the kind of screams from a fun game. They were sharp, cruel, and humiliating. Mia froze in the middle of the blacktop, her heart pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. She felt the sharp tug on her shirt, the sudden rush of air against her skin, and the explosion of laughter that followed. 3 boys stood in front of her, grinning like they'd just won a prize. She didn't move. She didn't cry. She just looked at them, calmly, almost coldly, while they kept laughing, unaware of the storm they'd just unleashed. Maya had been at Lincoln Middle School for just 2 weeks. She'd transferred from another state after her father's job moved the family. Quiet by nature, she kept her head down, sat in the back of the class, and ate lunch alone. Her small frame and shy demeanor made her an easy target in a place where loud voices and confidence ruled. Most kids didn't know anything about her background, where she came from, who she was, or what she was capable of. And that, she thought, was their biggest mistake. Earlier that morning, she'd noticed the 3 boys watching her during gym. Jake, the ringleader, had a cocky grin and the kind of confidence that came from always getting away with trouble. Tyler was the loud one, egging everyone on, while Connor hung back but laughed the hardest when someone was humiliated. She ignored them, but she could feel their eyes on her, their whispers following her from the locker room to the basketball court. At recess, she sat on the far side of the yard, flipping through a small sketchbook she carried everywhere. Drawing was her escape, her way of controlling a world that often felt chaotic. That's when she felt the shadow fall over her. She didn't look up until Jake's voice sliced through the air. "Hey, quiet girl, you always hiding under those big shirts." He smirked. She said nothing. Tyler laughed. Connor grinned. Then it happened in a blur. Jake's hand shot out, grabbing the collar of her shirt and yanking it forward. The fabric stretched, slipped down slightly, and the sound of laughter erupted like fireworks. For a split second, Mia froze. Her cheeks burned, but not from embarrassment, no. This was something deeper, older. She'd spent years in martial arts classes, training in Brazilian jiu-jitsu under her uncle, a retired army instructor. He'd taught her not just how to defend herself, but how to end a fight in seconds if needed. And now, every lesson came rushing back. Jake didn't even see her move. One moment she was standing still, the next she had his arm twisted up behind his back in a grip, so tight his knees buckled. The laughter stopped instantly. His cocky grin twisted into a grimace. "Let go, oh, let go," he yelled. "You think humiliating people makes you strong?" Mia's voice was steady, almost too calm. "All it does is show how weak you really are." Tyler stepped forward, his hands raised like he might push her. Without even turning her head, she shifted her weight and snapped her free hand to his wrist, twisting it sharply. He yelped and stumbled back. Connor, wide-eyed, didn't move an inch. A few kids nearby gasped, others just stared, mouths open. The yard, usually buzzing with noise, had gone strangely silent. A whistle blew. "What's going on over there?" Mrs. Carmichael, the recess supervisor, stormed toward them. Mia released both boys before she arrived, stepping back and picking up her sketchbook from the ground. "They pulled my shirt," she said plainly. Her voice didn't tremble. "I defended myself." Jake opened his mouth to argue, but the glare Mrs. Carmichael shot him made him shrink. Tyler rubbed his wrist. Connor stared at the ground. The boys were pulled aside and sent to the principal's office. Mia was asked to come too. On the walk there, Mrs. Carmichael leaned closer. "You know, most kids wouldn't have stood up to them." "I wasn't standing up to them," Mia replied softly. "I was stopping them." The principal heard both sides, but the truth was clear. The security cameras had caught everything. The boys received suspensions. Maya received a warning, but also a quiet nod of respect from the principal. "Sometimes," he said, "it takes just one person to make people think twice." In the days that followed, something shifted at Lincoln Middle School. People started sitting next to Mia at lunch. Kids she didn't know smiled when they passed her in the hallway. The boys who had humiliated her didn't so much as glance in her direction again. And while she didn't seek attention or praise, she knew she had sent a message, one that spread faster than any rumor. She learned something too. Strength wasn't about winning fights or intimidating others. It was about knowing when to stand your ground and refusing to let anyone strip away your dignity. Her uncle's voice echoed in her head. You don't have to roar to show your power. Sometimes you just have to stand. Mia went back to her quiet routine, sketchbook in hand, but she carried herself differently now. And whether people realized it or not, they sensed it too. She was no longer the easy target in the corner of the yard. She was the girl who could snap arms. But more importantly, the girl who would never let cruelty go unchallenged. The sun hung lazily over Lincoln Middle School's playground, pouring gold over the basketball courts, the jungle gym, and the clusters of students scattered across the yard. Recess was loud, sneakers squeaking, kids shouting, a soccer ball bouncing somewhere in the distance. But in one corner, tucked under the shade of a broad oak tree, Mia sat alone on a wooden bench, her knees tucked up slightly, sketchbook balanced carefully on her lap. She preferred it this way, quiet, hidden, away from the chaos. Drawing was her sanctuary. Her pencil moved in soft arcs and quick strokes, bringing a delicate sparrow to life on the page. She was halfway through shading its wings when a shadow fell across her paper. Her fingers stopped moving. The air shifted. She didn't even need to look up to know who it was. Well, the new girl. Jake's voice oozed with the kind of confidence only a habitual troublemaker had. He stepped into her light, his hands stuffed into his hoodie pocket, a smirk plastered on his face. Behind him were his two shadows. Tyler, tall and loud, and Connor, smaller but with eyes that darted around like a fox looking for trouble. Maya kept her eyes on her page. "Move," she said flatly, turning her sketch slightly so the shadow wasn't over it. Jake laughed, a sharp, fake laugh. "You always sit here alone? No friends? Just you and your little doodles." Tyler chuckled. "Maybe she's hiding something under those baggy shirts. You ever think of that?" Maya's hand stilled. Her uncle's voice echoed in her mind, "Stay calm. Never show them they've hit a nerve." She didn't respond. That silence, her lack of fear, made Jake's grin falter for a second, but his ego wouldn't let him back off. "Let's see," he said suddenly, and before she could blink, his hand shot out. Fingers gripped the collar of her shirt, tugging it forward and down. The fabric pulled sharply at her shoulder. Gasps erupted from a small group nearby. Tyler let out a bark of laughter. Connor's mouth twisted into a half-smile, eyes watching for her reaction. Maya's sketchbook slipped to the ground, pages flipping open. Her breath slowed. A strange calm washed over her. The playground noise dulled in her ears. "Now," her uncle's voice whispered in her memory, "show them who they're dealing with." She moved so fast, Jake didn't even process it. 1 second his hand was on her shirt. The next his arm was bent behind his back at a brutal angle. His knees buckled. The pain shot through his shoulder and wrist like fire. His smug grin twisted into shock, then into a panicked grimace. "Whoa, let go," he gasped, his voice breaking. Tyler lunged forward. Without looking, Mia's free hand snapped out, catching his wrist and twisting it into a painful lock. Tyler's bravado shattered instantly as he stumbled backward, his face pale. Connor froze. His hands twitched at his sides, but he didn't move a muscle. His eyes widened as if he were realizing for the first time that Mia wasn't just some quiet new girl. Around them, a hush fell over the yard. Kids who had been playing stopped mid-game. Heads turned. The only sound was Jake's sharp breaths and Tyler's groan. Maya's voice was steady, each word precise. "If you ever touch me, or anyone like that, again you'll leave here in an ambulance. Do you understand?" Jake's head bobbed frantically. "Why, yeah, okay." She released them both and stepped back. Jake cradled his arm, Tyler rubbed his wrist, and Connor took 2 quick steps away, his usual smirk gone. The spell broke with the sharp shrill of a whistle. Mrs. Carmichael, the recess monitor, came marching over. "What on earth is going on here?" Jake opened his mouth, but Maya's calm gaze cut across him like glass. "They pulled my shirt," she said, her tone even. "I defended myself." The boys started to protest, but Mrs. Carmichael raised her hand sharply. "Enough. All of you, principal's office. Now?" The walk there was silent except for the scuff of sneakers on the hall floor. In the office, the principal watched the security footage from the yard. It didn't take long for the truth to come out. The boys were suspended for harassment. Mia was given a warning, not for fighting, but for using force. Yet as she left his office, the principal said something that stayed with her. "You didn't just protect yourself, Mia. You reminded everyone there's a line you don't cross." Over the next few days, whispers spread like wildfire. Mia wasn't just the new girl anymore. Kids started sitting with her at lunch. Some came up just to say they thought what she did was brave. The bullies avoided her completely, their arrogance replaced by a quiet caution. Mia never bragged. She didn't seek revenge. She just went back to her sketching, her head held a little higher. But inside, she knew she had done something important. She had turned fear into respect, not by being cruel, but by refusing to be a victim. And maybe, just maybe, she'd made the playground a little safer for the next quiet kid who just wanted to be left alone.